Thread Sketching Flowers in the Night incorporates a short lesson on incorporating quilting fabric as part of the design. Thread sketching is used to augment the flower to give its realism, and a simple thread sketch line creates the idea of a stem and leaves. You will also learn how to use different weights of thread in the same design. Sound like fun? You bet! Please refer to the PDF documents that accompany this video for tracing and hooping suggestions. Because the black fabric I selected was opaque, I used a piece of tracing paper. That's the kind that we all used to use when we made dresses. And I used this to trace the design onto the black batik. The PDF documents will also give you step-by-step instructions to hoop the design. Now you have a couple of options to sketch the leaves, and this will depend on your skill at free motion. Option 1, select free motion if you're very comfortable with free motion. Option 2, Bernina owners, use your BSR to assure a good stitch quality. And option 3, insert an open toe applique foot. For the demo today, I am going to use the open toe applique foot, but leave the feed dogs down. This will help to manipulate the fabric underneath the hoop. So let's get going. Okay, the last design is called Flowers of the Night. And on this one too, you want to make sure you're doing a little practicing first before you get started. Again, hoop up a piece of stabilizer and a piece of muslin and practice first. Now, I just given you 3 options, and one of the options was to use an open toe applique foot. And I had mentioned about leaving your feed dogs down. Some of the machines you cannot leave the machine dogs down when you've got this type of foot on there. So if your machine is like that, like my 830 is like that, it won't let me go into free motion with this foot. That's okay. I can still manipulate the hoop inside this hoop to make it do what I want it to do. Now, I've already anchored my stitches, and I've gotten started. If you can program a tack stitch for your beginning and ending stitches, that's fantastic. That will just keep your threads from pulling out. So I'm going to reduce the speed on my machine as well. And I'm going to come down to here, and I'm going to stop. I'm going to raise my foot. I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to go up through here. Now remember, I am manipulating this hoop. I'm going to raise the foot. This one probably takes a little more effort than to free motion, but you really need a really good stitch quality on this. And if you're not really comfortable with free motion, you won't be happy with your results. I'm going to come over here, and anytime you need to stop to make your turn, that's okay. If you don't follow your lines exactly, don't worry about it. That's quite all right. Because remember now, these are all going to wash away when you're done. You'll never know that you didn't hit your mark. Turn over here. Now, if you've got your BSR, you'll be in free motion if you happen to have a Bernina, and you're comfortable with that, because that will give you a really good stitch quality too. Now, I've got a 30 weight thread in here, and in case you don't know, if you look on the side of a spool of thread, it'll have a number, anywhere from, say, 12 to 100. And what that is, that's the weight of the thread. And the lower that number, the thicker the thread. So I've got a 30 weight thread in here, which is a pretty hefty weight thread. And the reason I put a 30 weight in here is I really want you to be able to see the stitches that I'm putting in here. If I had done this with a 60 weight thread, it would sort of look ridiculous because it would have been way too thin. So I want you to be able to see every individual stitch. That's why I said earlier, if you're not comfortable with free motion, you may want to try your open toe, your open toe applique foot. Needle back down in there. Here we go. Now, I'm not going to do this entire stems and leaves, because I think with this you'll kind of get the idea of what I'm doing. This is fun to do. This is not hard to do. In fact, this whole thing should be fun. This is a fun process. Now, this one we're going to make a little curve. I'm going to come, I'm going to stop, go back around. The first one I did when I was doing my prototype, I did it in free motion. And even though I've been free motioning for what seems like forever, with this thread, I wasn't very happy with the results that I got. And that's why I used the BSR on mine. but most of you should have an open toe applique foot. So I'm going to continue on around. I'm not going to completely finish this because I think you get the idea of what we're trying to do. And this is the finished product. This is what the finished little stem and leaf are going to look like. So let me change my thread and we're going to go on to the flower. Okay, now we're ready to do the flower, and it's kind of hard to see it, but I've fused the fusible web to the back, and I'll take this off and then I'll fuse this on here. But before I do this, I want to lay this on my light box, and you can see where I've drawn all my lines in there so that I know where I've got to go. And then I'm going to position it on here, something like that. So I'm going to do these in pretty bright colors so it makes it easier for you to see what I'm doing. All right, so let me pull this up. Now, I'm going to come over here, and what I'm going to do first is I'm going to have a straight stitch. I'm going to turn this around so I can see it. And I want, oops, get out of the way, thread. All I'm going to do with this bright one right here is I'm going to fill in the outline between the petals. So you'll be able to see where one petal stops and the next one starts. Now, if you don't hit your mark exactly, in other words, if you don't hit the line that you drew, what you might want to do is just follow, like here, it's kind of crooked. Follow that crookedness, because if you try to fix it, it's going to look like you just tried to fix it. So I'm going to go all the way around the petals using this bright orange. And then I'm going to start putting the petals in. But what we need first, the reason we need to do this is we need to divide these petals with a sketch so that you can sort of see what's going on here. Like in 3 here is the dark. These are the divisions between the petals. Now we're going to change our colors and we're going to start giving this flower some character. All right, we're going to have 2 different colors. You're going to have whatever colors you choose for yours, you're going to have 2 different colors in the leaves. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out one line and I'm going to come back on the same line that I went out on. Now, if you don't hit your pencil marks or whatever you use to mark yours on there, don't worry about it. And on these where I've got these little funky little areas like right here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go along the outside edge right here to get to where I need to go. Now I'm going to come back down. I'm going to turn it around so I can see. I'm going to go out and back, and I'm going to do this all the way through. And you can take some creative license. You don't even if you didn't want to draw these lines on here to begin with, it's not necessary. If you're comfortable in free motion, you may just want to kind of wing it as you go. Now, a lot of these little things, and it's probably hard to see on camera, but I've got a line here and some lines here. I've got some on the outside edges. When you get to that point, raise your needle, come over here, put your needle back down, don't cut that connecting thread, and just go ahead and sketch in that little line. Now, rather than coming right next, this one right here, because your connecting thread would be too short, I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to do this line, and that way I've got a little bit longer thread tail to cut. And I'm going to keep doing this on these outside petals until I get all these little guys done. And normally I do this with each petal, or you could wait till the very end if you wanted to and do them all at the end. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and I'm going to finish these last ones right down through here. And here again, that connecting thread that I've used, or jump stitch, whatever you want to call it, I don't have to cut it until it's in my way or until I'm done. All right, so then I'm going to do this one. I'm not going to do the last little petal. I'm going to change threads and we're going to go to the last color. And then we'll have our little petal all complete. Okay, this is the final color that I'm going to put on the little flower petals. This will be your second flower color, or petal color, whatever you want to make it. This time I'm going between the threads that are already in place. I'm going to come back over here and do this one as well. You need to make sure that when you're choosing your thread, it doesn't make any difference what project that you're using, that you choose threads about 2 shades darker than what you think you're going to need, because they're going to stitch in much lighter than what you see on the spool. What you see on the spool is a concentrated area of thread, and when these go in now, these are going to be like 1 or 2 threads thick. Okay, I think you'll get the idea. Now I need to put a little final shading. I've got a little bit over here in this area. I've already put a little bit of shading right here, and that's what we're going to do to kind of define this area. So let me change threads and I'll be right back. Okay, you can see over here I've already got some dark thread in here, and what that does is that defines the center to let you know that they're normally at the center it would be much darker than anywhere else. So I've got a straight stitch, and this is where you can use your 100 weight thread. And the reason I suggested a 100 weight thread is it doesn't fill in quite so fast. It gives you a little time to play with it. Now if you don't have a 100 weight, that's okay. You can use whatever weight thread that you have. Now when I get through with this, I'm going to look at it, and I may want to do an optional, a much lighter color, and come over this and kind of tone it down a little bit. On this one I probably would not, but on some of them I may have gotten it a little bit too dark, and I can use like a medium brown to come back over and to fix that so I like it a little bit better. It looks a little odd here because there's so many bright colors, and I actually didn't complete that one. But this is what your final Flowers of the Night is going to look like. This is really, really a fun project, and it's very easy, it's very quick, and it gives you a really good insight into what thread sketching is all about. So I hope you enjoyed this project.